Mrs. Mamuni. Thank you so much for being Amar Baba.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. In this video, I am going to discuss how to solve a double column cash book problem having cash and bank columns with all the banking transactions. So let's get started. Chalo shuru kora jak. Please remember, a cash book, be it a single column or a double column or a triple column, does not record credit transactions. A cash book always records cash transactions, and a double column cash book with cash and bank columns only records cash transactions and banking transactions. Okay? And please remember, all cash receipts are recorded on the debit side in the cash column, and all cash payments are recorded on the credit side in the cash column. Okay? And all checks received are recorded on the debit side in the bank column, and all checks paid are recorded on the credit side in the bank column. Okay? And please remember, the cash column will always show a debit balance, but the bank column may show a debit balance or a credit balance. If the bank column shows a credit balance, it is known as bank overdraft or overdraft. Okay? Now let's go through the problem. So here is the problem. Cash book, double column. Enter the following transactions in the books of Baba in a double column cash book. Here is the column for date, here is the column for transactions, and here is the column for amount. And all the transactions are mainly banking transactions, which is very, very important. Okay? So now let's see the first transaction. The first transaction is 2022 on 1st April, cash in hand 10,000, cash at bank 11,000. So the opening balance of cash in hand is given. The opening balance of cash at bank is also given. So there will be no journal entries in the cash book. So the question of narration does not arise. So we'll have to write two balance BD in the cash book on the debit side in the cash column 10,000. Similarly, we'll have to write two balance BD in the cash book on the debit side in the bank column 11,000. Okay, so let's write. On 1st April, two balance BD in the cash column 10,000. Opening balance of cash in hand is given in the problem, and the opening balance of cash at bank 11,000 is also given in the problem. Okay. So now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 5th April, check received from Kumar, and this check was immediately deposited into bank on the same day. That means, যদি কোনো check receive করে এবং on the same day deposit হয়ে যায়. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit to Kumar account, because he is the giver of check. Since here check is received from Kumar and the check was deposited into bank on the same day, so the journal entry will be bank account debit to Kumar account 2000. So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the debit side, Kumar account will also be on the debit side. So we'll have to write to Kumar account in the cash book on the debit side in the bank column 2000. Okay, so let's write. On 5th April, to Kumar account in the bank column 2000. Being check received and deposited into bank on the same day. Okay. Moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the receiver of the benefit is debit. Here, when check was received from Kumar and the check was deposited into bank on the same day, the bank is the receiver of check. So, bank account will be debited by 2000. Okay. Now, let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 8th April, Radha, a customer, directly deposited the amount into Baba's bank account 1000. একটা কাস্টমার ডিরেক্টলি বাবার ব্যাঙ্ক অ্যাকাউন্টে 1000 ডিপোজিট করে দিয়েছে। So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit to Radha account 1000. So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the debit side, Radha account will also be on the debit side. So we'll have to write to Radha account in the cash book on the debit side in the bank column 1000. Okay. And please remember, we are only looking at the position of cash account and bank account because this is a double column cash book having only two columns, cash column and bank column. So we don't have to look at the position of any other accounts except cash account and bank account, since there are two columns in the cash book, cash column and bank column. Okay. So let's write on 8th April, to Radha account how much? 1000 in the bank column because she has deposited directly into Baba's bank account. Being amount received directly into Baba's bank account. Being amount received from Radha directly into Baba's bank account. Moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the receiver of the benefit is debit. Here, when Radha, a customer, directly deposited the amount into Baba's bank account, bank is the receiver of the amount. So, bank account will be debited by 1000. Okay. So now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 10th April, check received from Kumar dishonored. What was the amount? See, on 5th April, check received from Kumar and this check was immediately deposited into bank on the same day, 2000. Journal entry was bank account to Kumar account. But here, on 10th April, check received from Kumar dishonored. তার মানে কি? কুমারের থেকে যে চেকটা রিসিভ করেছিল ব্যাংক সেটা যে কোনো রিজনে হোক ডিসঅনার হয়েছে। ডিসঅনার্ড মিন্স বাউন্স ব্যাক করেছে। অ্যাকাউন্টে কুমারের ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্টে মানি নেই ওর কুমারের সিগনেচার ট্যালি করেনি, কিছু একটা হয়েছে, তো কুমারের চেকটা ডিসঅনার হয়েছে। দ্যাট মিন্স এই চেকটা কুমারের কাছেই ফেরত যাচ্ছে, ব্যাংক টাকা রিসিভ করতে পারেনি। সো দ্য জার্নাল এন্ট্রি উইল বি কুমার অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিট টু ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট। So what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the credit side, Kumar account will also be on the credit side. So we'll have to write by Kumar account in the cash book on the credit side in the bank column. How much? This amount, 2000. Okay. So let's write on 10th April by Kumar account in the bank column, check has been dishonored. In the bank column, how much? 2000. Being Kumar's check dishonored. Okay. Moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the giver of the benefit is credit. Here, when Kumar's check has been dishonored, bank is the giver of the benefit. Bank is returning the check to Kumar. So bank account will be credited by 2000. Okay, understood? Now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 12th April, check received from Priya 6000. Was the check sent into bank on the same day? Kichu bola nahi. Nothing is mentioned here. So let's go through the other transactions and see. প্রিয়ার চেকের সম্পর্কে কিছু বলা আছে কিনা? On 15th April, check received from Akash. Ignore. On 20th April, endorse Priya's check to Namrata. That means check received from Priya, but Priya's check deposit hoyni into bank. If the check received from Priya and not deposited into bank on the same day, what will be the journal entry? Check in hand account debit to Priya account. Why not bank account to Priya account? Because the check was received from Priya, but the check was not deposited into bank on the same day. হাতে ছিল চেকটা, বিকজ 12th চেক পেয়েছিল, 20th ওটা এন্ডোর্স করেছে, তার মানে 8 days চেকটা প্রিয়ার থেকে পেয়ে হাতে ছিল। দ্যাট মিনস দ্য জার্নাল এন্ট্রি উইল বি চেক ইন হ্যান্ড অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিট টু প্রিয়া অ্যাকাউন্ট। আর যদি চেক রিসিভ ফ্রম প্রিয়া অ্যান্ড ডিপোজিটেড দ্য চেক ইন্টু ব্যাংক অন দ্য সেম ডে হতো, 12th এপ্রিলেই যদি চেকটা ডিপোজিটও করতো, তাহলে কি হতো? ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিট টু প্রিয়া অ্যাকাউন্ট। Understood? If the check was received from Priya and deposited the same check into bank on the same day, the journal entry would have been then bank account debit to Priya 6,000. Since the check was received from Priya, but আমরা পরের ট্রানজ্যাকশনে দেখলাম কিছু মেনশন করা নেই ডিপোজিট হয়েছে কিনা, তো আমরা দেখলাম না এখানে ডিপোজিট হয়নি, কারণ 20th এপ্রিলে প্রিয়াস চেক এন্ডোস টু নম্রতা, তার মানে চেক ওয়াজ রিসিভ ফ্রম প্রিয়া বাট ওয়াজ নট ডিপোজিটেড ইন্টু ব্যাংক বিকজ দ্য চেক আফটার 8 days ওয়াজ এন্ডোস টু নম্রতা। আর যদি এখানে 20th এপ্রিলে কোনো ট্রানজ্যাকশন থাকতো না অ্যান্ড এখানে বলা থাকতো চেক রিসিভ ফ্রম প্রিয়া, অথচ প্রিয়ার চেক সম্পর্কে আর কিছু বলা নেই, দেন উই উড হ্যাভ অ্যাজিউম দিস অ্যাজ check was received and deposited into bank on the same day. Suppose on 12th April চেক রিসিভ করেছিল প্রিয়ার থেকে, আর এখানে প্রিয়ার চেকের সম্পর্কে কোনো ট্রানজ্যাকশন নেই, তাহলে আমরা অ্যাজিউম করে নিতাম প্রিয়ার চেকটা ডিপোজিট হয়েছে অন দ্য সেম ডে। কিন্তু প্রিয়ার চেক এখানে 20th এপ্রিলে এন্ডোর্স হয়েছে নম্রতাকে, তার মানে প্রিয়ার চেক হাতে ছিল। সো যদি রিমেম্বার অলওয়েজ, যদি চেক রিসিভ অ্যান্ড ডিপোজিটেড ইন্টু ব্যাংক অন দ্য সেম ডে হয়, দেন ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিট টু প্রিয়া অ্যাকাউন্ট। আর যদি এখানে কোনো ট্রানজ্যাকশনস প্রিয়ার চেক সম্পর্কে বলা না থাকতো, তাহলেও আমরা ধরে নিতাম, অ্যাজিউম করে নিতাম চেক রিসিভ অ্যান্ড ডিপোজিটেড দ্য চেক ইন্টু ব্যাংক অন দ্য সেম ডে। আন্ডারস্টুড? সো তখনও ব্যাংক অ্যাকাউন্ট টু প্রিয়া অ্যাকাউন্ট হতো। সিন্স 12th চেক রিসিভ করেছে বাট 20th প্রিয়াস চেক ওয়াজ এন্ডোস টু নম্রতা, দ্যাট মিনস চেকটা হাতে ছিল। সো দ্য জার্নাল এন্ট্রি উইল বি চেক ইন হ্যান্ড অ্যাকাউন্ট ডেবিট to Priya account. But this journal entry will not be recorded in the cash book. Why? Because debito bank account nahi, credito bank account nahi. So you won't be able to record them. Instead, you'll record this in the journal. Let me show you. See, in the books of Baba journal, see, on 12th April, check received from Priya 6,000. The journal entry will be check in hand account debit to Priya account 6,000. Being check received from Priya but not deposited into bank on the same day. Okay? See, on the debit side there is no bank account. On the credit side there is no bank account. So you cannot record this in the cash book. Okay? So we'll have to record this journal entry in the books of journal. Okay? Now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 15th April, check received from Akash 4,000. So let's see Akasher check সম্পর্কে আর কিছু বলা আছে কিনা। Is there any other information regarding Akash check? Because deposit হয়েছে কিনা আমাদের বলেনি, we don't know whether check received from Akash was deposited into bank on the same day. We don't know. Let's go through the transactions. On 20th April, endorse Priya's check to Namrata, ignore. Yes. So on 22nd April, Akash check sent to the bank. তার মানে কি, check was received from Akash, but the check was not deposited into bank on the same day. So the check was in hand. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be check in hand account debit to Akash account. If the check was received from Akash and deposited the same check into bank on the same day, then the journal entry would have been bank account debit to Akash account. Since the check was received from Akash 4,000 on 15th April, but the check was deposited into bank on 22nd April. That means for 1 week the check was in hand. Instead of bank account to Akash account, so the journal entry will be check in hand account debit to Akash account 4,000. Okay. But here this journal entry cannot be recorded in the double column cash book. Why? Check in hand account debit to Akash account. Since there is no bank account on the debit side and there is no bank account on the credit side, how can you record? Or there is no cash account on the debit side or there is no cash account on the credit side. So we cannot record this journal entry in the double column cash book. Instead, we'll have to record this journal entry in the journal. Let me show you. The check received from Akash on 15th April was 4,000. But this transaction cannot be recorded in the cash book. Instead, we'll have to record this transaction in the journal. Okay. See, on 15th April, check in hand account debit to Akash account 4,000. Being check received from Akash but not deposited into bank on the same day. Same day te jodi check ta receive koro but deposit na hoy into bank on the same day, this will be the entry. Check in hand account debit to the customer's name. Okay, je tomake dicche tar naam. Check in hand account debit to Akash account. Understood? Now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 20th April, endorse Priya's check to Namrata. So what will be the journal entry? Namrata account debit to check in hand account. What was the previous journal entry? When we received the check from Priya, check in hand account debit to Priya account. Since the check was not deposited into bank on the same day. So on 20th April, when Priya's check was endorsed to Namrata, what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be Namrata account debit to check in hand account. And what will be the amount? See, 6,000. Okay. So can you record this in the cash book? No. Since Namrata account is on the debit side and check in hand account is on the credit side. So how can you record this in the double column cash book? So please remember, if there is no bank account on the debit side or there is no bank account on the credit side, you cannot record this transaction in the cash book. Or if there is no cash account on the debit side or there is no cash account on the credit side, you cannot record this in a double column cash book with cash and bank columns. Okay. So we'll have to record this transaction in the books of journal. So on 20th April, endorse Priya's check to Namrata. So what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be Namrata account debit to check in hand account 6,000. See, there is no bank account on the debit side, no bank account on the credit side, or there is no cash account on the debit side or no cash account on the credit side. So this journal entry cannot be recorded in the cash book. So we'll have to record this in the books of journal. Okay. Being Priya's check endorsed to Namrata. Okay. So now let's see the next transaction. Please remember, যেই ট্রানজাকশনসটা তুমি ক্যাশ বুকে রেকর্ড করতে পারছো না সেটা তোমাকে জার্নালে করতে হবে। তোমাকে হয়তো এটা দেখাতে হবে না, বাট জাস্ট টু মেক ইউ আন্ডারস্ট্যান্ড, I have shown you how to record in the journal the transaction which will not appear in the cash book. You don't have to prepare this journal in the exam, but just to make you understand, I thought of showing you because the transactions which we cannot record in a double column cash book are recorded in the books of journal. Okay, let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 22nd April, Akash checks sent to bank. Previously, there was a transaction regarding Akash. Yes, so on 15th April, check received from Akash 4,000, but the check was not deposited into bank. So the journal entry was check in hand account debit to Akash account. See, on 15th April, check in hand account debit to Akash account 4,000. On 22nd April, check was deposited into bank. So now what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit to check in hand account. Why check in hand account now will be on the credit side? Because check ta ar hate thakche na. চেকটা 15 থেকে 22nd অবধি হাতে ছিল, because the check was not deposited into bank, but now on 22nd check was deposited into bank, so this check is no more in hand. Okay, so that is the reason check in hand account will be credited and bank account will be debited, because bank now will be the receiver of check and check goes away from hand. Okay, so now let's record the journal entry in the cash book. On 22nd April, to check in hand account, how much? 4,000. Okay, being Akash check deposited into bank. Moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the receiver of the benefit is debit. Here, when a Akash check is deposited into bank, the bank is the receiver of the check. So, bank account will be debited by 4,000. Okay, now let's see the next transaction. On 24th April, bank charges interest 3,000. So, bank kichu interest charge code. Charge means expenses. So, what will be the journal entry? Journal entry will be interest account debit to bank account. What is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the credit side, interest account will also be on the credit side. So, we'll have to write by interest account in the cash book on the credit side in the bank column 3,000. Okay, so let's write. On 24th April, by interest account, how much? 3,000 in the bank column, because bank charged interest, being interest charged by bank. Moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the giver of the benefit is credit. Here, when interest is charged by bank, the bank is the giver of the money. So, bank account will be credited by 3,000. Okay, so now let's see the next transaction. The next transaction is on 25th April, bank allowed interest 1,000. So, bank issue interest dichche customer ke. So, this is an income for the customer. So, what will be the journal entry? The journal entry will be bank account debit to interest account 1,000. So, what is the position of bank account? Since bank account is on the debit side, interest account will also be on the debit side. So, we'll have to write to interest account in the cash book on the debit side in the bank column 1,000. Okay, so let's write. On 25th April, to interest account in the bank column 1,000, being interest allowed by bank. Moreover, bank column represents bank account. Bank account comes under personal account. According to personal account, the receiver of the benefit is debit. Here, when interest is allowed by bank, bank is the receiver of interest. So, bank account will be debited by 1,000. Okay, let's see the last transaction. So, on 20th April, goods purchased for cash. So, this is the only cash transaction. We have done all the banking transactions. I have chosen all the banking transactions for you because just to make you understand how to prepare journal entries in the cash book. Okay, this is very, very important because I know many students make mistakes regarding check received but not deposited into bank, and check received but not deposited into bank, but after a few days check enters to another person. Okay, I've chosen almost all the banking transactions here apart from contra, because I've already explained in many videos what is contra and how to prepare contra entries. That is the reason I left contra in this video. But other than contra, I have chosen all the banking transactions which are very, very important, because I know many students get confused how to prepare journal entries for banking transactions. Okay. I have already explained banking transactions in the chapter journal entries. If you're really interested, you can check it out, my video titled Banking Transactions. And I have shown how to prepare banking transactions. Okay. So now what will be the journal entry for this? Purchases account debit to cash account. Ignore goods because goods are meant for resale. So purchases account debit to cash account. So what is the position of cash account? Since cash account is on the credit side, purchases account will also be on the credit side. So we'll have to write by purchases account in the cash book on the credit side in the cash column 8,000. Okay, so let's write. On 20th April, by purchases account in the cash column, how much? 8,000. Okay, moreover, cash column represents cash account. Cash account comes under real account. According to real account, what goes out is credit. Here, when goods are purchased for cash, cash goes out from the business. So, cash account will be credited by 8,000. Okay. Now, let's calculate the total of cash column on the debit side and the total of cash column on the credit side. Okay. So, let's do it. So, the total of cash column on the debit side is 10,000 and the total of cash column on the credit side is 8,000. So we cannot write 8,000. The rule is whichever is bigger, we have to write the bigger total on both the sides. 10,000. So there is a shortfall on the credit side in the cash column. So we have to balance it. So we'll have to write by balance CD to balance the cash book. So what will be the balancing figure? Deduct the total of cash column on the credit side from the total of cash column on the debit side. The total of cash column on the credit side is 8,000 and the total of cash column on the debit side is 10,000. So deduct 8,000 from 10,000, you'll get 2,000. So the date will be the last day in the month of April. So please remember this 2,000 is the closing cash in hand for the month of April. Now this closing cash in hand 2,000 will be brought down on the opposite side, that is on the debit side beneath the cash column, because this closing cash in hand 2,000 will become the opening cash in hand for the next period or for the month of May. First A to balance BD, that is 2,000 beneath the cash column. Okay. Similarly, now we have to calculate the total of bank column on the debit side and the total of bank column on the credit side. Okay. So now let's do it. The total of bank column on the debit side is 19,000 and the total of bank column on the credit side is only 5,000. See, 2,000 plus 3,000. So the rule is whichever is bigger, we'll have to write the bigger total. So we'll have to write 19,000 on both the sides. Okay. But there will be a shortfall on the credit side. The cash book is not balanced. So we'll have to find out the difference, the balancing figure. How? So by deducting the total of bank column on the credit side from the total of bank column on the debit side. So what is the total of bank column on the credit side? Only 5,000. And what is the total of bank column on the debit side? 19,000. So if you deduct 5,000 from 19,000, you'll get 14,000. So this 14,000 by balance CD 14,000 is the closing cash at bank for the month of April, and this by balance CD 14,000 will be brought forward on the opposite side, that is on the debit side beneath the bank column 14,000, because the business has not shut down. It will continue for the next period or for the month of May. So by balance CD 2,000 is the closing cash in hand for the month of April, and it will become the opening cash in hand for the month of May 2000 or for the next period. And by balance CD 14,000 for the month of April is the closing cash at bank will become the opening cash at bank for the month of May or the next period 14,000. Okay. So now see, the cash book is balanced. I hope you understood. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your precious time. I sincerely hope this was helpful. I'll catch you all in the next video. Till then, keep rising and keep shining. Bye bye. Take care, stay safe, and stay blessed always.